Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Last Son, and this is how to book your first show in TEW 9. So this show is going to be about booking your episodes, and this is going to be covering all the aspects of booking this, including angles, including the new options that they have. I want to give you guys a view of TEW 9, just in case you're on the fence. Should I upgrade from 2020 to 9, or if you've never played any of these games before and you're coming to TEW 9 with like a blind eye, you can see this process. So I'm hoping if you're new to the game, you'll get a lot of enjoyment and a lot of tips out of this video. And if you're a veteran to the game, you still might find something that you had noticed or didn't know anything about. So tonight, we're going to be booking our TV show, TCW Presents Total Wrestling. It's just a game that I'm continuing from my journey through the Seaverse. So we'll go ahead and get into that. This is the new pre-show booking screen. From here, you can see a lot of different options. You have the option to give the night off, select the venue, finalize broadcasters, pre-show incidents, booking team meeting, locker room incidents, and then you can address the locker room. Some of these will automatically skip and automatically forward through the selection if there is just one default or it's required. Or if you're running a tour episodes where it's like Japanese companies that have the tour schedule set up, some of these things you won't see. Booking team meeting, you only get those on the main events. Shows, for example, yes. Your pay-per-views, yes. So on a Japanese save, you're only going to see booking team meeting on that final event of the tour. So at any time, you can actually right-click to skip any of these events if you don't feel like doing. So if you don't feel like giving anybody the night off, or you don't really want to do that, you just right-click, it'll skip. This is what this screen looks like to give the roster somebody the night off. You can search. So if we go down here and we'll just pick somebody from the unimportant. Right now, we'll just pick the Mass Mauler here. We come down here, we just give them the night off. They are no longer on the show, so they won't affect the locker room. They also won't get mad because you didn't book them. So this is a way that you can keep people happy if you aren't going to use them for that night show. Could also be maybe somebody is kind of negative right now, or they are upset. You can keep them away from the locker room and potentially keep any incidents from happening in the background until you somehow find a way to improve their morale. Once you're done, just click out of the X. They'll give you a pop-up asking, are you sure you're done? Just click yes. We move into the next step, which is selecting tonight's venue or location. So here you have many different options. You can change your location that you're going at. You can look in here at the different cities and events and locations like Cloverfields or Colorado Springs Bar, go to Dallas, Texas. You can also pick the best option, which will look at how many fans you are expected, and it will get something that is potentially close to that and not like go over and book like a 12,000 seater. One thing that always kind of confused me in the beginning is when you look at these, for example, Dallas, Texas, says a capacity of 75,000. And the estimated cost is going to be 12,000. This is just based on what fans you have. So it can change. One thing you want to look at is obviously the economy in the wrestling industry. The economy is rising. The wrestling industry is falling. So on most of the cases, you can get away with a generic volume. You can pick the best option, or you can look around here and see, do we have any that's close? We could sell this out for 9,000. We can look here and Most of these are kind of, you know, on the bigger side. Right now they have it's booked at Irvin Hall, which is a 5,000 capacity, so we should be able to sell that out. I'll probably just use that I will probably just use that venue. So we'll select that venue and see it skipped broadcasters and it skipped any pre-show incidents. Pre-shows incidents could be things like this worker could not make it, maybe they were stranded, their transportation kind of failed, your equipment might not actually make it to the event. Things like that will be in the pre-show incidents. So now we have our booking team meeting. I didn't add anybody to the booking team because I don't plan on actually continuing this save. So we have Mr. Smith, Joel Bryant, Dean Daniels, and Human Arsenal all providing CE. If you want to see a detailed breakdown, you can click here and it will tell you how much they generated. But some of these guys will actually receive a reduction because they're not the head booker, or they can receive a bonus to their CE based on different values, different relationships. So you can see here 20% bonus as Bryant has a great booking chemistry with Daniels. So because they have that great chemistry, it added a 20% bonus. One thing also that some, I don't know if all, some companies have will be they have a capped amount that can be stored for CE. So if you don't use the CE and you store it, you can store so much. I know for some of the saves I've been testing, like the CILL beta save that I was doing, I had a cap of like 250 CE. And once I hit that cap, everything kind of was lost. So right now, they're subtracting 40 CE, which is 20 CE per hour, just to have the show. Basic booking creativity. If we stored everything, we'd get 219 CE in our store. We can just spin some real here so you guys can see it. You have different options. We can buy a creative finish. We can buy an angle idea, a gimmick idea, storyline idea, or a character idea. So if we'll buy a creative finish. So you'll see a couple things on the screen. You see the success rating. It is a bit of a gamble. There are no restrictions on this idea. If there was, it would tell you here. And it expires on this date. You can give them names if you want. On these ones here, I tend to just put something like random or another, so because you can't have more than one called Creative Finish January 2022. Go ahead and buy another one here. See if we can get one that is tailored for somebody. Not yet. This one's a surefire hit. Save that. See if we can get an angle. Safe bet. Not getting lucky here to show you guys. Here is one. So it's a big gamble, but this can only be applied to matches where Aaron Andrews is set to be the victor. And it has a really early expiration date. It's not going to last a long time. You're going to have to use this. Go ahead and come back out, and we'll click out of this. So now we'll move into our next step here, locker room incidents. So Doc Hammond came to us backstage, said he thinks Dominic Rizzoli has a bright future. He'd be willing to put him over in order to help take him to the next level. And tells you it's good for 2 matches and will expire on this date. These are kind of the same types of things we had in our email after shows, but now they're happening as locker room incidents. Here we get a note about Floyd Goldworthy and Human Arsenal hanging out together a lot recently. And that's it for incidents, which is good. We don't want to have a ton of incidents. Good ones are fine, but the negative ones can really add to the backstage morale going down. We'll address the locker room. So there's a couple different options now. This isn't available right now, but it's making a big speech trying to inspire everyone. You can do team bonding. So you bring together like key members of your roster and you'll try to build some team spirit. can build relationships in a good environment, but in a bad one, it can make everything become worse. You have your hardline stance, my way or the highway, basically. You can have an open forum. This will only show up if you have a lot of people, like at least 3 eligible unhappy workers, and they'll come and they'll present their issues, and hopefully this relieves some of the tension and makes everyone a little happier. You can meddle. It's kind of the old way of meddling. Don't find out right away if it's successful like we did before. This one will take, and we might get notes later on in the episodes, later on in the shows. Could happen a month from now, 2 months from now. We might get a notice saying that these 2 individuals are now hanging out, or they could have had a fight. Call out, you can call out a specific worker, challenging them on their attitude and backstage behavior. Intervention. This can be like a jolt to beat addictions, to help those workers who have addictions. You can fire people, or you can pull a rib just like you did before. So if we do team bonding, just for the sake of this video, you guys can see all of these relationships were strengthened. Some of them between my character and a worker, some between 2 workers. So it was successful. That's good, but this can backfire. Pre-show is now complete, and we kind of now move into our main part of the show. We see here anybody who's absent. We did give this person a night off. The mass mauler, sent him home, so that's why he's showing up on that list. So what we'll do here, I'm going to book a few matches and angles just to show you guys what's going on, and then we'll let the auto booker finish it up, and then we'll compare what the auto booker did versus what we did. And you can see, if we really wanted to, we could do an auto booker, book the whole show. 14 segments have been added, and you can see some of the different matches that they have come up with. If you look at the booking analysis, there's no storylines being furthered, so the booker may not do that when it's doing auto booking. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But if you really wanted to auto book, you could come in here, find one, and advance this storyline between T-Bone Bright and I think it's Wolf. Yeah, Wolf Hawkins and T-Bone Bright. You could theoretically come in here and go ahead and just book the rest of this, move these things along, and have a perfectly good card that you could go ahead and move on into the show and see what happens. But we're going to clear this out. We will go ahead and book the main event. So the main event on this episode, we're not going to try to stick with anything that I would do normally. We're just going to book some matches here. So in this match, we're going to have Greg Gage and Jay Cord in a match. We'll set it for 20 minutes. So one thing that I didn't notice on my first couple times playing through, and other people have sometimes have trouble finding this, is these little tabs here. So you have booking details, which you have all of your booking details here, your road agent notes. You have staff now. And the thing I like about this is it actually tells you the skills that are involved wherever this staff is being used. So you have your play-by-play and color, your refereeing, your psychology and experience for your road agents. Over here, we can make it a title match by coming in here and picking the title we want to use. So all of these are in these top tabs. They were kind of hard to see if you don't know what you're looking for. But now we'll go in here. We'll let Jay Cord pick up the victory. We are going to do a call in the ring. This is already picked because TEW has everybody calling it in the ring. We'll do a slow build, and we'll do a clean win. And we'll book this. We'll get the notice saying it's a potential title match. You want to add I'm not going to set the belt up for that. So that's one of our storylines. Let's go ahead and take another one of our storylines, and we'll just do a match between T-Bone Bright and Wolf Hawkins. Like I said, this is not what I would do normally, because this is a lot of big matches that you want to save for your like pay-per-view events. But I'm just booking things, letting you guys see the interface, and also just having a little bit of fun with this. So we are going to have an open match, call it in the ring. Gotta remember not to hit that. We'll do a slow build and a clean win. Actually, let's do a tainted win on this one. We'll get rid of that. Sometimes when you make some of these choices, they'll do the opposite. Other times, you'll have to make sure, like I did there, we had a clean win and a tainted win. So I have to come over here and adjust this and adjust the road agent notes, so that way nothing interferes and causes those issues. So we'll go ahead and book this statement. So we have 2 segments now that we have booked. Let's go ahead and book an angle, and then we'll auto book the rest. So in the angle, there's a couple different things. There's the tabs at the top still. Now you can assign your staff here. So you want to make sure you have your A commentary team on here. You want to make sure if you have a good road agent. We go back to booking details. There's 3 ways you can book your angles. You can add by quick alter workers. Go through and find your workers and add them that way, add their roles. You can click here. You can come down and find who you want, and you can add them that way by coming over here and adding them to a specific part with a specific role. Here also allows you to filter between your major stars, your perceptions. The other way you can do it is you can come in here and quick add. So when you have quick add, you have the minutes that you want to have it up here. You have whether you want it to be in the ring, backstage, outside broadcast. And then they have some kind of templates here, which are interview, cutting a promo, hype video, beat down, brawl, saving the day, contract signing, or a stare down. So for this, let's set up a promo. And here is where you can pick who is speaking. There's 4 options. And this way, unfortunately, kind of limits the targets and speaking to 4 each. So in this one, we're going to have Aaron Andrews cut a promo on we're going to have Jay Cord cut a promo on Greg H. So he's going to be off screen. He's going to be cutting the promo. You fill in angle. It'll overwrite anything that you have over here. The thing that I've noticed is that for some reason, it defaults to an interview. You just got to change that to an angle. You can auto name right here, and it will say promo with Cord, or you could give it a name here, and here you can type in whatever output you would like to see. So that will show up when we run the show. Right here's where you can do your pre-show or post-show. You can save or leave off this in the show's history. Here's where we want the dialogue to either be improvised or scripted. I think with Jay, he has pretty good promo skills, so we'll improvise that. Now granted, that could blow up, but we'll save the details. If you go in the road agent notes, here is a bunch of options. You can turn people, title change, minor, regular, and major storyline victories. Here's the difference now between this. We'll go in here, and if you give victory to Jay, unfortunately, Greg has to lose. We can't just spam successes now. For every success, there's a opposite losing negative reaction now. And here's also where we can add our angle ideas. So if they're for a specific worker to have their name here, we just have a safe bet. So we can add that. This comes up. So if we wanted to come out here and create another angle, and let's make this one a little bit different. Let's start this one out by adding a worker, and this one's going to be Wolf Hawkins. So in here you can see company status, you can see skills, attributes, biography if you want. So we're going to have Wolf cutting a promo, and it's going to be about T-Bone Bright, and we're going to have him off screen. Okay, we'll save that out, and here we'll put Wolf cuts promo. 2 minutes in the ring. It's angle. We can just do a generic content. Save details. It comes over here. Wolf cuts the promo. Add a new part, and in this part, we're going to have T-Bone Bright do some character development. This is kind of, I think, like almost like a catch-all. This is going to be him coming out to answer Wolf. So Wolf he'll be doing character development as well. We're only going to give this a minute. We'll call this T-Bone comes out to confront Wolf. Do generic for that as well. And the next part we'll do, you can do, I change that, we don't want to do that. So you can change this by adding a part. You can add a copy. If you add a copy, like let's delete part 3. You add a copy of part 2, it keeps the characters. So all you have to do then is come in and change, what you're going to do. So we're going to have them fight in the ring here. Update. If you copied, you have to update. If you are starting from scratch, you just obviously click add. So fight breaks out. Save details. Actually, we'll just make that 3 minutes. Okay. And we can have the final part. We can workers hold part. And we'll have that go for 5 minutes. We'll have T-Bone Bright. For this, we could go off of intimidation, take advantage of like menace. He doesn't have the best menace, so we might have him working the crowd. We might have them both working the crowd. Update that, and we'll save those details. We can still auto name, do a promo, or we can do name this whatever we want. And then over here in the output, you can put whatever you would like to put. The output we're going to have would be Wolf cuts a promo on T-Bone, saying he's not a worthy competitor. He can't wait to prove it to the crowd. T-Bone's music hits, and out comes one ticked off big man. Gets into the ring and gets into Wolf's face. Gets into the ring and gets into Wolf's face. Both men begin throwing punches. Security hits the ring to try to separate the two men. Both men begin attacking the security officials before more guards come out and finally separate the two big men. We'll book this. So we have kind of basically now 2 matches we've booked, 2 angles we booked. Let's go ahead and let the auto booker. No title matches on this one. Let's have them book the rest. They've booked more promos and more segments. This is all the auto booker, and it starts here with the Wolf and TEW and Brawl stuff that we've booked. Let's see how things go. You can see that we're 10 segments, 113 minutes, 70% matches. We are at 70% matches, and we would not be penalized. Because we cannot start, though, for some reason. We need 2 more minutes. We'll just add 5 minutes to the main event. Now we're green. We're green. The trap is clean, right? So we'll go ahead and start this show. We could, let's see here. We do see an Aaron Andrews. Let's go ahead and add the finish. So if you scroll all the way down, create a finish, Aaron Andrews. Let's see how that goes. There's no victory. So this is the thing you gotta make sure. You gotta make sure that Aaron Andrews is the victor in this match. I didn't do that. That was the booking AI. And then we can add in potentially one of our other creative finishes so we can see how they affect everything. Okay. This is the results of the auto booker. So they started out with Aaron Andrews and Jalen Martins. This was a pretty decent pre-show match, and we got a 52 rating in wrestling, 55 crowd rating, and 58 segment rating. And you can see here in your notes, Aaron Andrews had a 74, Martins had a 29, and that creative finish was a failure. If you look at the dirt sheet, you can see everything that happens and what went good, what went bad, and then you can try to maybe learn from that. Like Aaron Andrews was penalized for physical condition, not being able to use high-risk moves, and inconsistency. And then Martins was penalized for the same thing, not being able to use high-risk moves, poor psychology, and the poor use of his explosive ring style. Then we also see we got the penalty for the failed creative finish. So we do get that note. We know that was going to happen, but the auto booker is the one that called that. No, I take that back. TCW as a product has call in the ring on as mandatory. So we're going to get this every single time we have a match that somebody cannot call in the ring. So next up we have Doc Hammond versus Benny Benson. 57 rating, 60 crowd rating, 55 segment rating. Pretty good, performances from both these guys. But we do know that they have an awkward pairing on commentary. We got an average 5-minute interview that took place that we saw Joshua Taylor cutting a promo, and Killer Shark was in the background. He got a 52, and they did not give Joshua Taylor a script. The booker didn't. So that would be something you could do and see, well, this person doesn't have the best microphone and charisma, so I probably should script this. So that would be something, if I was auto booking a lot of shows, I would be going in and looking at these angles and making sure I change things to fit at least the worker that's involved. We have Matt Hawking versus Dazzling Dave Diamond next. 60 wrestling, 61 crowd, 63 segment. It's pretty good, performances. Donna the Mighty and Flint Slater. 47, 63 crowd, 45 overall segment rating. And we get that commentary note. That's kind of crazy. But 49s and 45 from these two guys. It's not horrible. We get that note about the calling in the ring. Aaron Andrews comes out and cuts a promo. That got an 81 because he enjoys that freedom of going off script and performed well. So the auto booker is apparently just going to leave everything kind of on default. It worked this time for Aaron Andrews. Joshua Taylor and Killer Shark versus Sammy Bach and Troy Tornado. This is kind of neat that the auto booker kind of played up Joshua Taylor and Killer Shark earlier in the show with that promo. and then paid off with a tag team between these two. So that's kind of cool. The wrestling rating is a 58, crowd rating of 66, segment of 66. So pretty good performances all around. These are all still below our popularity. And right now our show is looking like we're going to probably lose popularity unless we have a really good top half of the card. And I was kind of preparing for that with using Wolf Hawkins, T-Bone in one match and Greg Gage and Jay Cord in the other match. But Sammy Bach and Troy Tornado had a 7-minute interview, 79, pretty good segment because they're both good at improvising. So here's our first booked, not auto booked. The auto booker's done now. We have the rest of the show with our matches and angles. So as you can see, here's our output. I won't go through reading it again. But we see here we got an 83 segment rating, and it breaks it down by parts. So 84 for the first part. Part 2 had an 81. Part 3 was a 77. And Part 4 was a 78. And we do see we advanced that. We did also gain heat. And we have some notes about how good Wolf Hawkins is without a script. Same thing with T-Bone. And they both improvised really well throughout the segment. This moves into their match. And we got a 76 wrestling rating, 75 crowd rating, and 81 segment. Another thing I wanted to keep calling your eye to would be the crowd heat at the end. This is how we manage our crowd and also our match aims. So the wrestling rating is given a rating now. The crowd has its own separate rating, and then the segment itself has an overall rating. And then they do break it down again between the workers. We gain more heat on the storyline, so that's pretty good. We then get a 99 segment rating between Jay Cord and Greg Gage. This is that promo we cut. It probably would have got 100 if Jasmine Sanders wouldn't be considered weak on commentary. But that angle idea probably added to it as well. And then the storyline advanced and gained heat. And Jay was superb working without a script. We move into our main event. Get an 88 overall segment, 79 wrestling, 74 crowd. Really good performances between Jay and Greg. And the success of that creative finish also helped that segment rating overall. So at any time, you could always return to the booking screen. You can handle changes if you're turning workers, recapping any kind of gimmicks that are appearing for the first time. And you can also, if the segment calls for a pre-booking, you can do it here. If you actually wanted to know what did I give for the road agent notes, that's here as well. Your booking details, the length, the type, the prestige of the risk, referee, all that good stuff is all listed here. And the match prestige and match risk is all based on what type of 1v1. We just did a regular one. We didn't do any special like steel cage or ladder or table, etc. We'll go ahead and finish the show. We got an 88 overall. Thankfully, from some of these segments that the auto booker did, and then obviously the ones that we did. So you can see, match-wise, the best match that the auto booker put out was a 66. And the best match we put out, obviously, was this 88. And I didn't cheat, but I stacked the deck a little bit because I used Jay Cord and Greg Gage, Wolf Hawkins, and T-Bone Bright. I used a lot of the major stars and stars at the top here in matches that I probably wouldn't have done on a regular TV show if I was planning on continuing. I would build some storylines up, and these guys wouldn't be facing each other until at least a pay-per-view. That whole, thought of big matches, you gotta have people pay for that. There's big money in big matches. Go ahead and finish the show. And here we could make a post speech to the assembled workers. You don't do this after normal shows. You only do this after your pay-per-views. So that's auto-skipped. There was no injuries, so that's auto-skipped. If there was injuries, you could see what happened, how long they were going to be out, surgeries available, all that good stuff right here in this step. In your financial report, you get all your information on ticket sales, your broadcast revenue, merchandise, workers, show costs, marketing, all this stuff, and you get your overall profit right away. And anything with an asterisk you can click on and you can see the breakdown. So for example, workers, we had 0 in basic pay, quite a bit in bonuses, and then the drug testing here. But we made almost $300,000 on that show. Popularity, this is another great feature. You can kind of track your popularity as it happens. That's a really cool feature. You can see these changes. So anything in yellow is a gain. Anything that would be red is a loss. So not all gains are shown. We're still gaining, but in the background this could be 75.875 or something like that. There could be multiple digits behind that decimal that eventually adds up to 1, and then this number turns to 76. And that was the whole entire post show is now completed, and we can now move on from that evening phase and into the next day. So if you guys would actually like to see a whole booked show by the auto booker and you can compare it, I can do that. Just leave it in the comment below. If you guys have any questions about this process or questions that you might like to see a video idea of, but I hope you guys got some value. I hope you learned something that you may not have realized. Keep playing, guys. Stay awesome. I'll see you in our next video.